one of the most interesting art pieces that came out of D23 on Avatar 3 was this one right here, which shows the Ash Na'vi or the Ash clan doing some sort of ritual with who I'm guessing is Vang right in front, and overall this looks vastly different than what we've seen before in the Avatar universe. Avatar Theory here, hope you're doing well and having a fantastic day. And over the weekend, we got the title for Avatar 3 titled Avatar Fire and Ash, and with that we got 4 different concept art, 2 of them focusing on the new Ash clan, while as the other 2 focuses on what seems to be the Wind Traders or the Wind Na'vi, as James Cameron has said that there's going to be more than one new clan in Avatar 3. Now I do want to give a shout out to Discussing Film, JoeBlow.com, as well as Primetime Films on Twitter, who initially took images and videos at the event, where I then photoshopped and edited some of it to bring more detail to it, going from this to this. Now right out of the gate you can see that front and center of this image is Vang, or who I presume to be Vang, the leader of the Ash clan, who's played by Una Chaplin, and based on this concept piece alone, she looks really disturbing, from her outfit to just the surrounding Na'vi and the background itself. Now looking at the character design, you can see that it is very different from the Na'vi we've seen in the movies before, because she has somewhat of a grey tone to it, given that they live in a volcanic region, and based on her headpiece, it kind of reminds me of a Dilophosaurus from Jurassic Park, which I've mentioned in one of my previous videos. But you can also see the expression on her face is just completely crazy. She seems insane, almost mentally unstable, and I do wonder the origins of this Na'vi clan. Are they somewhat disconnected from Eywa? Do they serve somebody else or something else? Because if you look at these strings around her neck, at first it might seem like rope, but if you look closely, that could actually be kurus from other Na'vi, either by fallen enemies or willingly given to her by her followers. Because if you look at some of the Na'vi surrounding her, aside from their disturbing and creative appearances, I only saw their tails and pieces of their masks, and given the fact that all of them are wearing masks, I wonder if they're willingly cutting off their kurus, giving it to her, and in that way showing that they cannot connect to Eywa anymore and they only serve one master, that being Vang. That would certainly be an interesting take. And also if you look at the ends of some of these strings, you can see that it looks like there's blades attached to it, so I don't know if they or if she uses it as weapons as well, but she also has a blade strapped to her chest, and you can also see that her hands, or at least her nails, are very sharp, which makes her an enemy that you don't really want to cross paths with. Now looking at the image again as a whole, I'm not entirely sure what is happening here. It could be some sort of ritual, some sort of sacrifice, because behind Vang you can see there's a big fire going, and if you look at the bottom of this concept art, it kind of looks like there's viper wolves that's being burnt. It could either be a body of other Na'vis, but it looks like the head of it. Maybe they're sacrificing viper wolves. And if you look at the far back, it does look like there's some sort of wingspan going up. It could be the creature that she was riding in one of those other concept art standing at the back, but it could also be a part of their home, as it does also look like a formation of rocks. So that could be essentially part of a roof or something to that extent. I'm not entirely sure. It is a bit difficult to make out some of these parts, but it definitely looks like some sort of ritual is happening behind her. Now moving on to the left side of her, you can see there's some sort of Na'vi that kind of looks like a zombie. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I don't know if that Na'vi is being burnt or if it's one of her followers, but it seems that there's some sort of spikes, or it almost looks like there's nails coming out of the side of that Na'vi's head, and you can see that their face is just absolutely disturbing. And again, there's no kuru coming from that Na'vi, so again giving me the indication that they cut it off willingly, giving it to her as a sign of respect, or a sign of that, you know, they're giving everything up for her. Moving on to the Na'vi that's next to that one, you can see that that one has some sort of cage type mask, and all of these designs, honestly, it reminds me of Silent Hill. Some of this designs reminds me of Pyramid Head himself, straight out of a horror game, and that honestly makes me really excited about the theme of Avatar Fire and Ash. Will we get some scenes that's truly horrific, that's truly terrifying to watch? Because going back to this Na'vi with the cage mask, you can see that their hands also are very sharp, their body is also kind of like crooked, not acting the way a normal Na'vi would. Now going on to the far left side, you can see there's a black thing in front of the image. That is just the camera on stage, that is not part of the image, but behind that it seems like there's a Na'vi with some red clothes that kind of torn, and then you can see that they are wearing what almost seems to be some sort of goat mask, or the equivalent of a goat type creature on Pandora, wearing its head as a mask, whereas it has some sort of cape going down the back. And I really like the design of this because it makes one feel uncomfortable, uneasy looking at this. And I mean, James Cameron did say that this is not going to be the movie that you would expect, but it is the movie that you're going to want to see. Now, going on to the right hand side of this image, certainly one of the more interesting designs. This one has features which immediately makes me think of the Demogorgon from Stranger Things, and I don't really know what these masks are made out of or what their clothes are made out of. Certainly the head of creatures and just all sorts of strange things going on here. And I also wonder if they're actually being possessed in some way. Maybe if they do still have their kurus connected, maybe they connect to something else, to somebody else, thus being fully disconnected from Eywa. And we may see a darker side of Pandora, one we've not yet seen before, because you have to remember, where there's light, there's darkness. Much like the Force and the dark side and the light side, you know, Eywa is kind of like the light side on Pandora, so we've not yet seen what the dark side is. And this might be the first time we see essentially what the dark side of Pandora could be and what it does to corrupted Na'vi. Now, speaking of corrupted, certainly one of my favorite parts of this concept art is this person right here with a mask which looks like they were shot in the head, because it just looks like there's a hole in the center with blood coming out of it. They also have this upside down triangle, red triangle on their chest, which we've seen before, and they've got all sorts of red markings, either cuts or paint, maybe blood markings. Maybe there's some sort of blood ritual going on, but this one is certainly a disturbing yet creative design, whereas the one on the far right is the one that reminds me, like I said, of Pyramid Head from Silent Hill, because of that massive mask which has that triangle in the front, and you can see that it has like a massive stick or spear kind of poking whatever it is that's burning while they're celebrating, while they're performing this ritual. And you can see behind that Na'vi is two more Na'vi also with masks, and you can see the one at the very back even has a knife in its hand. So like I said, it is interesting looking at this that Vang is the only one that does not have a mask, whereas all of them are covering their faces with masks, again giving me the indication that once they cut their kuru, they cover their head with a mask to kind of hide it, but also to show their support, or to show, you know, that they are following Vang. And since she's not wearing a mask, she has essential control over everybody. And I honestly really cannot wait to see this in action. I really hope we get some sort of teaser soon, some sort of still image from the movie. And I do wonder how Jake and especially Quaritch will act when they see this clan. Specifically the RDA as well, because this will be a new type of enemy on Pandora, which will also potentially pose a new threat to the RDA. This is going to be an entirely new area on Pandora that we've not yet seen at all. So I wonder how it's going to be uncovered. I wonder how they're going to fall into the story between Jake and Quaritch. And if Jake and Quaritch is essentially going to put their differences aside because of this greater threat. But this is certainly my favorite image that have come so far from D23 on Avatar Fire and Ash. And if there's a detail that you think I missed from this image, then let me know in the comments below, and let me know your thoughts on this image as well. For more Avatar content, have a look at the rest of my channel, and until next time, have a fantastic day and stay safe.